maybe close by covering something a lot of people are wondering about, which is how do we value these assets? I mean, Bitcoin goes from nothing to 15,000 to 6,000. XRP kind of is correlated in rising and fall. Is this a kind of a tulip craze? However useful they are, how do we know what they're worth?
Well, Brad's pointing at me because he doesn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, and I admire Brad for that decision. So the short answer is, who the hell knows? And if I knew how to value this stuff, I'd be very, very, very rich and wouldn't be sitting here talking with you guys. There are all sorts of theories. I don't think a single one of them actually works.
Hey, everybody. It's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. And that was Sam Bankman-Fried's father, Joe, sitting across from Brad Garlinghouse, who posed the question for the valuation. They were at a Stanford University podcast a few years back, and it's really been all the headlines that triggered my memory of that video with Sam Bankman-Fried's parents now being sued by FTX. Gosh, life is stranger than fiction. And also today, Stanford University said it's going to return all the FTX donations with the accusations of undue influence. Just crazy, right?
Real excited Friday. That's all I can tell you. Got a few things got to line up, but if it does, it's going to be very exciting for me on a personal level. And I think also, hopefully for some of you out there. With that said, see you next week and stay tuned to Twitter.
Well, people are waiting with bated breath. Many comments speculating John will go work for Ripple. I don't know. On a personal level, if John is happy, we're all going to be happy. There was big news for banking in Asia and also for XRP holders. If I give you a little bit of a backstory, in 2019, Union Bank of Philippines partnered with Ripple to power their wallet with the use of XRP on-demand liquidity. In November 2022, that same bank tapped Medico for custody to provide crypto services to its clients. Today, they were granted a full VASP license. That's a VASP license, which stands for the Virtual Asset Service Provider. They're the first and only universal bank in the Philippines to offer such. This allows them to expand services such as trading, storing, issuing tokens. The VASP license are handed out globally. According to this report 4 months ago, Canada, believe it or not, Canada has the largest number of licenses, 1,254 that have been issued. Lithuania comes in second. The most popular news I posted today was about Tranglo. Ripple has a 40% stake, and they are an absolute powerhouse for payments in Asia. The founder gave an interview to the Edge Media Group. And by the way, they have 560,000 followers on X because they're an excellent source for news on this side of the world. So Tranglo is really ramping its on-demand liquidity. It increased 1,700% over the last year. Now I know we need a lot more Tranglo volume to impact the circulating supply. 970 million in transaction volume is a good start, but it's not enough. Actually, we need like 1,000 Tranglos. Here's a photo from that article, and here's the group that has helped make that number real. Attorney John Deaton had Caitlin Long on his Crypto Law TV website, and it was so good. I've clipped some snippets for you. Do listen.
What is Custodia trying to do? It's trying to create a durable on-off ramp where we're specializing as a bank in the particular risks of the digital asset customer base. And we saw that, and we knew, by the way, Custodia knew that there was heightened bank run risk for traditional banks that were serving the digital asset industry because of how fast settling and how high velocity the transactions in this asset class can be. I mean, heck, stable coins at one point, each tether was changing hands 3 times a day.
Wow.
Okay. The monetary velocity, the M1 velocity of the US dollar is 1.2 times a year.
If you have a bank run, you can satisfy all
Correct.
of the withdrawals 24/7.
That's absolutely correct. The liquidity risk in this business model is vastly different than the liquidity risk of a traditional bank. That, again, in this case of Silvergate, it was pretty obvious. If you looked at their balance sheet, you go back and look at Silvergate or Signature's balance sheets, it's pretty obvious that they had massive bank run risk. The Custodia case is about something much more foundational, to your point, which is, can a business even survive if it doesn't have US dollar access in the United States to be able to pay its vendors and very importantly, to be able to pay the IRS its withholding taxes, as we talked about earlier. And then most recently, I was reading Lynn Alden's book, Broken Money. And the first risk she pointed to isn't banning crypto, it's closing off the on-off ramps. It's funny that the Biden administration was that the crypto freak out that it had was so extreme that it went to this length where it's now across multiple federal agencies in multiple federal court districts facing what I would call bet the farm type litigation, that if the agencies lose, their jurisdiction is changed permanently by the federal court system. Federal agencies don't like to be sued because they benefit from the gray area, and they constantly, frankly, have been expanding their jurisdiction and nobody's really pushed back. And it's just funny that crypto became the thing that caused the true jurisdictional boundaries of some of these federal agencies to be examined by federal courts.
Okay, now I'm going to play for you the snippet clips from that Stanford University podcast. And then stay to the end because I've got a surprise from Oscar Arneson. All right, everybody, until next time, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Stanford Legal, where we look at the cases, questions, conflicts, and legal stories that affect us all every day. I'm Pam Carlin, along with Joe Bankman. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Pam.
But that's not all. Those aren't the only ways to pay people these days.
That's right. You could also use blockchain technology. Blockchain's kind of a master electronic ledger that records transactions. It's often used with a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, or like a currency we'll talk a little bit about today called XRP. And supporters say that blockchain technology is actually faster and cheaper as a way of sending money.
Our colleague Joe Grunfest at the law school. Joe teaches corporate law. He teaches securities regulation. He used to be a commissioner on the Securities Exchange Commission, which is the federal government agency that regulates securities.
And our other guest is Brad Garlinghouse. Brad is the CEO of Ripple, which I think can safely be called the leading firm in this space, depending how you define the space. He's a 20-year veteran of Silicon Valley.
So, when I think about the G20 world, I think, look, fiat currencies work really well, and I don't see a reason that you would, as a consumer in the next 10 years, be using XRP to make consumer payments.
Maybe close by covering something a lot of people are wondering about, which is, how do we value these assets? I mean, Bitcoin goes from nothing to 15,000 to 6,000. XRP kind of is correlated in rising and fall. Is this a kind of a tulip craze? However useful they are, how do we know what they're worth?
Well, Brad's pointing at me because he doesn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, and I admire Brad for that decision. So the short answer is, who the hell knows? And if I knew how to value this stuff, I'd be very, very, very rich and wouldn't be sitting here talking with you guys. There are all sorts of theories. I don't think a single one of them actually works. I have profound concerns about the reliability of information in the market. This isn't a market like the SEC where we know that we have credible information about secondary market trading and the like. It is very easy to spam the information networks, have false transactions, have false prices and the like. A lot of it is who the hell knows. But if you take simple microeconomics, you've got demand cases and you've got supply cases. The supply is relatively fixed. We know how many units of Bitcoin are supposed to be out there at any one point in time. And then you've got demand cases. Well, people engaged in illegal activity will sometimes want this stuff. People looking to speculate and simply buy because they expect that the value of Bitcoin will increase in the future. They'll want to buy some of this stuff. People in countries where they're worried about hyperinflation, they'll want to buy some of this stuff, and some people want to buy some of the stuff because it gives them something to talk about at a cocktail party.
I'll maybe just add to that briefly. I violently agree with that. The long-term value of any digital asset, I think, is going to be correlated with the utility if it's solving a problem. And I think, as we've discussed, there's a lot of them that either I don't think they ever were intended to solve a problem, or they won't be successful. But I think there will be digital assets that solve a problem, that have utility, and maybe, yes, for some it'll be solving an anonymity problem. Maybe for some it'll be solving a security settlement problem. But I think over a long arc of time, if there's value, if there's utility, then the market will appreciate that.